What if the person you trust the most, the friendly neighbor, the charming stranger, is hiding a monstrous secret? The human mind is capable of incredible kindness, but also of unimaginable evil. There are those who walk among us, wearing masks of normalcy, who hunt, torture, and kill for their own twisted pleasure. Today, we're peeling back the facade of normalcy to confront the darkest chapter of American history. We will delve into the minds of the top 10 serial killers in U.S. history. We'll examine their horrific crimes, the lives they shattered, and the tireless efforts of law enforcement to bring them to justice. This is not just a list, it's a chilling reminder of the monsters that can lurk in plain sight. Brace yourself. Number 10. Aileen Wuornos, the Damsel of Death. Kicking off our list is a name that shattered the stereotypical image of a serial killer, Aileen Wuornos. Often dubbed America's first female serial killer, her story is a harrowing tale of a deeply troubled life spiraling into a murderous rampage. Born into a world of abuse and instability, Wuornos was abandoned by her mother and endured a traumatic childhood. By her teenage years, she was pregnant and living in the woods, turning to sex work to survive. This life on the fringes of society set the stage for the violence to come. Between 1989 and 1990, Wuornos shot and killed at least 7 men along the highways of Florida. Her first victim, Richard Mallory, acted in self-defense, claimed some credibility when it was revealed he had a prior conviction for attempted rape. Wuornos's victims were all men who picked her up while she was working as a prostitute. A compelling aspect of her story is her relationship with Tyria Moore, whom she met in a gay bar. Wuornos tried to support Moore through her work, and it was Moore who ultimately played a key role in her capture by cooperating with the police. Wuornos was arrested in 1991, convicted, and received 6 death sentences. She was executed by lethal injection in 2002, leaving behind a complex and disturbing legacy. Number 9. Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. Next, we journeyed to the desolate farmland of Plainfield, Wisconsin, home to a man whose grotesque crimes would inspire some of the most iconic horror films in history. Ed Gein was not a prolific killer in the traditional sense, but the sheer depravity of his actions has forever cemented his place in the annals of American crime. Raised in isolation by a fanatically religious mother who taught him that all women were instruments of the devil, Gein's psyche was warped from a young age. After his mother's death, he was left alone on the family farm, where his delusions festered. In 1957, the disappearance of a local shopkeeper led police to Gein's property, where they uncovered a true house of horrors. They found macabre artifacts made from human remains, bowls made from skulls, chairs upholstered with human skin, and masks crafted from the faces of the dead. Gein's case became a cultural ground zero for the modern horror genre, directly inspiring characters like Norman Bates in Psycho, Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. Deemed mentally incompetent, Gein spent the rest of his life in a mental institution until his death in 1984.
Number 8. The Zodiac Killer, the Phantom of Northern California. Our next entry is a killer who was never caught, a phantom who terrorized Northern California and taunted the police and public with cryptic letters and ciphers. The Zodiac Killer is arguably the most famous unsolved murder case in American history. Between 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac is confirmed to have murdered at least 5 people, primarily targeting young couples in secluded areas. His reign of terror began with the shooting deaths of 2 teenagers on a remote lover's lane. What set the Zodiac apart was his chilling correspondence with the press. In letters to Bay Area newspapers, he took credit for the murders, threatened more violence, and included complex cryptograms. In these letters, he coined his own moniker and signed off with a cross-circle symbol. He claimed to have killed as many as 37 people. One of the most terrifying anecdotes involves a surviving victim, Brian Hartnell, who recounted being stabbed repeatedly by a man in a bizarre, hooded executioner's costume. Despite a massive investigation and numerous suspects over the decades, the identity of the Zodiac killer remains a chilling mystery. The lack of modern forensic tools at the time of the crimes is a major reason why this case remains cold.
Number 7. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. In the sweltering summer of 1985, a palpable fear gripped the residents of Los Angeles. A satanic serial killer, dubbed the Night Stalker, was breaking into homes, leaving a trail of murder, sexual assault, and terror in his wake. His name was Richard Ramirez. Ramirez's rampage was characterized by its randomness and brutality. His victims ranged in age and background, and his methods were horrifically diverse, including guns, knives, and his bare fists. He killed at least 13 people during his reign of terror. A chilling aspect of his crimes was his overt Satanism. He would often leave pentagrams at crime scenes, and during his trial, he held up a hand with a pentagram drawn on it and yelled, "Hail Satan!" This display captivated and horrified the nation. The capture of the Night Stalker was a direct result of community action. After his image was plastered across the media, he was recognized by citizens in East Los Angeles, who chased him down and held him until police arrived. Ramirez was convicted of 13 murders and numerous other felonies and was sentenced to death. He died on death row in 2013. Number 6. Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer. For 30 years, a serial killer who called himself BTK for bind, torture, kill, terrorized the community of Wichita, Kansas. What made his case particularly terrifying was that he lived a double life as a seemingly ordinary family man and church leader. His name was Dennis Rader. Rader's killing spree began in 1974 with the brutal murder of 4 members of the Otero family in their own home. He went on to kill at least 10 people over a span of 17 years. His modus operandi was to stalk his victims, break into their homes, then act out his sadistic fantasies. Like the Zodiac, Rader taunted the police and media with letters, taking credit for his crimes and leaving clues. Then, in 1991, he went silent, leaving the case to go cold. In a stunning act of arrogance that led to his downfall, Rader resurfaced in 2004, sending more letters to the media. He asked police if he could communicate with them via a floppy disk without being traced. They told him it was safe. He sent the disk, and police were able to retrieve deleted data that led them directly to his church. Rader was arrested in 2005, confessed to his crimes in chilling detail, and is now serving 10 consecutive life sentences. Number 5. H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer. We now travel back to the 19th century, to the man often considered America's first serial killer, H.H. Holmes. A charming and intelligent doctor, Holmes was a monster hiding in plain sight. During the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, Holmes opened a hotel that would later be dubbed the Murder Castle. This labyrinthine structure was designed for murder, complete with secret passages, soundproof rooms, and gas jets. Holmes would lure unsuspecting guests, mostly young women, into his hotel, where he would torture and kill them. Then he sold their skeletons to medical schools and disposed of the remaining evidence in a kiln in the basement. While he confessed to 27 murders, the true number of his victims could be much higher, with some estimates reaching into the hundreds. His reign of terror came to an end when he was arrested for insurance fraud. He was executed by hanging in 1896.
Number 4. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. For nearly 2 decades, the Green River Killer haunted the Seattle area, preying on vulnerable women and leaving a trail of bodies that made him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. His name is Gary Ridgway. Ridgway is believed to have begun his killing spree in 1982, targeting sex workers and runaways. His method was chillingly simple. He would strangle his victims and dump their bodies in remote, wooded areas, often returning to the crime scenes. Despite being a suspect early on, Ridgway evaded capture for years. It wasn't until 2001, with advancements in DNA technology, that investigators were able to definitively link him to the crimes. To avoid the death penalty, Ridgway agreed to cooperate with authorities and confessed to an astonishing 48 murders, though he claimed the actual number could be over 70. He is currently serving multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. Number 3. John Wayne Gacy, the Killer Clown. By all outward appearances, John Wayne Gacy was a model citizen. He was a successful contractor, active in local politics, and even performed as Pogo the Clown at children's parties. But behind this friendly facade was a sadistic monster who preyed on young men and boys. Between 1972 and 1978, Gacy murdered at least 33 young men and boys in the Chicago area. His method was to lure his victims to his home with promises of work or money, where he would then sexually assault them and strangle them. The horrifying truth of his crimes was uncovered when police began investigating the disappearance of a 15-year-old boy. The investigation led them to Gacy's home, where a search revealed a crawl space filled with the decomposing bodies of his victims. Gacy was arrested and convicted and executed by lethal injection in 1994. Number 2. Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal. Jeffrey Dahmer's name is synonymous with some of the most grotesque and disturbing crimes imaginable. Known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, his horrific acts of murder, necrophilia, and cannibalism shocked the world. Dahmer's killing spree spanned from 1978 to 1991, during which he murdered 17 men and boys, mostly young men of color. He would lure his victims back to his apartment, where he would drug, murder, and dismember them, often preserving their body parts as gruesome souvenirs. The story of his capture is as shocking as his crimes. In July 1991, a potential victim managed to escape from Dahmer's apartment with a handcuff still dangling from his wrist and flagged down police. When officers investigated, they discovered a real-life horror show. Photos of mutilated bodies, body parts in the refrigerator, and a vat of acid used to dispose of remains. Dahmer was found to be legally sane and was sentenced to 15 life terms. In a final, violent chapter to his story, he was beaten to death by a fellow inmate in 1994.
Number 1. Ted Bundy, the diabolical charmer. At the top of our list is a man who defied the very image of a serial killer. Ted Bundy was handsome, charismatic, and intelligent, a law student with a promising future. But beneath this charming exterior was a ruthless and depraved predator who was believed to have murdered at least 30 women across 7 states in the 1970s. Bundy's method was to feign injury or impersonate an authority figure to lure his victims into his car. He would then overpower, sexually assault, and murder them, often disposing of their bodies in remote locations. A truly chilling aspect of Bundy's story is his ability to blend in and gain the trust of his victims and society. He was a master manipulator who used his good looks and charm as weapons. His 2 daring escapes from custody only added to his mythic, terrifying status. After a nationwide manhunt, Bundy was finally captured in Florida in 1978. Following a sensational trial where he acted as his own attorney, he was convicted and executed in the electric chair in 1989. His case remains a terrifying reminder that evil can wear the most deceptive of masks. 10 names, 10 stories of unimaginable darkness. These individuals are not just figures from history or characters in a movie. They were real people who inflicted real pain and suffering. And for every killer we've discussed, there are countless victims whose lives were cut short and families who were shattered forever. The fascination with serial killers is understandable. We seek to comprehend the incomprehensible, to understand the motivations behind such monstrous acts. But in doing so, we must never forget the human cost. What are your thoughts on these cases? Do you think society has learned anything from these tragedies? Share your reflections in the comments below. Let's have a respectful discussion. And most importantly, let's remember the victims.